My name is Father Pius Petrick. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Legal Services Corporation, and it is my very distinct pleasure to be here to present the LSC Champion of Justice Award to Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska. This is an award that we don't give out very often, and when we do, it's to those who really deserve it. Throughout his career, Senator Sullivan has spearheaded efforts to protect Alaska's most vulnerable. You've heard stories about the vulnerable people that our grantees protect every day. As Alaska's Attorney General, Senator Dan Sullivan launched Alaska's Choose Respect initiative, holding rallies across the state to help domestic violence, the exact people whose stories we've heard today, survivors of sexual assault, their families. As a member of the Senate, he pioneered the Choose Respect Act, which designated October 1st as National Choose Respect Day, which coincided with Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And he has, throughout his career, led bipartisan initiatives such as the Pro Bono Work to Empower and Represent Act to expand legal services for survivors. In addition, not only a helper to domestic violence victims, but also to veterans. Senator Sullivan is himself a veteran, longtime champion in Congress to his fellow veterans to make sure they receive the benefits and services that they have been promised and that they have more than earned. He's one of a special group of Alaskan attorneys who have held judicial clerkships at both the highest federal and state courts in Alaska. He has a distinguished record in military and national security service. He's served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 30 years and attaining the rank of colonel. This is not a rank that's given out easily. It's one that is always well earned. He's had multiple deployments around the world to protect our nation. Senator, on behalf of the Legal Services Corporation, thank you. Thank you for your tireless commitment to increasing access to justice, your unwavering dedication to the American people.
Thank you, Father. Yeah, that's a very nice introduction. Thank you.
They're going to take a couple of pictures, and then you'll say a few words.
We're going to do one.
We're going to do all, of course. That's your people.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to just leave this here so everybody can see it.
Well, hey, thank you, Father. I appreciate the kind introduction. I'm very honored by this award, and I want to thank Legal Services Corporation and all your leadership that's been here and for all the great work that you do. I've been a big supporter of legal services way before I became a senator. And then when I came to the Senate, I wanted to work with Legal Services Corporation on all the good work that you do. And it's a real honor for me to be here today to join the advocates, attorneys, leaders, priests, and many others who see that justice becomes a reality for Americans who need it most. For decades, the Legal Services Corporation has led that effort to expand access to legal services across our country. The work that LSC does and the grantees it gets and provides for every day, veterans, already mentioned, survivors of domestic violence, assisting families navigating housing, reflects who we are, in my view, as a country at our best. So I want to do a round of applause for all of you and that good work. Now, my colleagues in the Senate know when I get a microphone, I usually start bragging about Alaska. And that's okay. We have a lot to brag about. Biggest state, most beautiful state. I do have this joke I tell the Texas senators, Senator Cornyn, Senator Cruz, if you split Alaska in half, Texas would be the third largest state in the country. Texans don't like that joke, but it's true, actually. But on a more serious, somber note, one thing that we do have the highest rate of in the country that we're not proud about in Alaska is the highest rates of domestic violence in the nation. And especially Alaska Native women, that's almost 20% of our population, experience horrendously high rates of abuse and murder. in Alaska, Alaska Native women are 3.5 times more likely to be killed than any other ethnic group. It's just horrendous. So, as you all know, these are not just statistics, these are real people. Mothers, daughters, sisters, neighbors, and I saw this all too often when I was Alaska's Attorney General, which is why I launched this initiative we called the Choose Respect Initiative in Alaska. Many years ago, it still has elements of it, but it was all about saying, hey, we need to change the culture of our state. We need to make it so people don't think that it's okay to abuse their girlfriend or their wife or worse. So we launched a very broad-based strategy. We got the students involved. We did marches on Choose Respect. We passed a lot of laws. But the one thing that we did that I thought was the most important, we reached out to the legal community, to all of you. We reached out to Legal Services Corporation and the Alaska version of that and said, we all need to work to provide more pro bono legal services for survivors of domestic violence. Because you guys have all seen the statistics. You know, this is the power of an attorney. If you get an attorney to help a survivor, the incidences of repeat domestic violence drop dramatically. There is no single panacea to stop domestic violence in any part of America in sexual assault, but I think the number one thing that comes the closest is getting a survivor a lawyer. It's the number one thing that comes the closest. The statistics show it. So we did these pro bono legal summits around the state when I was Attorney General, getting lawyers to sign up to provide legal services to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And I brought that idea to the Senate. It was already mentioned when we passed the POWER Act. And the POWER Act is about pro bono work to represent, and it requires federal judges, the chief judge of every federal district, every year to do what I did when I was Attorney General, to hold pro bono legal summits for victims of domestic violence. And that law now is permanent, and the Justice Department does an update on how many survivors have been impacted positively by these pro bono attorneys. The goal was to have an army of lawyers across the country to say, we're going to help. And the last report had that this bill, that doesn't cost a dime, had more than 61,000 attorneys across America do that kind of legal work. 61,000. So that was the idea. And Legal Services has been championing this with us and the judges. By the way, sometimes federal judges don't like being told what to do by members of Congress, but it's kind of like, hey, this is a law and you're a judge, so you better frickin' abide by it, right? So that's what we do every year. And you guys have been right alongside of us on these pro bono legal summits that have literally brought legal services, think about it, to tens of thousands of survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And so I want to thank Legal Services Corporation. I want to thank Alaska's Legal Services Corporation. Last year, they used the LSC's Pro Bono Innovation Fund to continue the expansion of legal services for survivors in Alaska, and particularly in rural communities where a lot of the legal representation is limited. So we have a long way to go to end the scourge of domestic violence and sexual assault. Certainly in my state, we got a long way to go, but we have made meaningful progress, and our partnership with this POWER Act and everything that Legal Services Corporation has done, we're making a difference. We really are. So I want to thank all of you guys again for your advocacy, for your hard work, and I am truly honored by this Champion of Justice Award, because this is an issue I've been focused on my entire career, and I'm honored to be provided this award by the corporation that's really been the partner in our endeavors to do this in Alaska. So thank you very much. Have a great conference, and I really appreciate the award. Thank you.